And you can see from pairing all of our analysis, we were able to ignore several sell signals, pick the perfect sell signal, trade the trade down exactly how we should have, get a really smooth entry, and we were able to lock in over $2,000 in about 28 minutes. In this video, I'm going to be taking you alongside me on a full day trading session. I'm going to show you my complete process, my strategy, the charting and indicators that I use, as well as my specific trade entry and exit criteria, and the real profits and losses that I take each day. So you can basically watch and learn from how I trade. Okay, I've been day trading for over 8 years now, documenting the process for over 5 years on YouTube. So these live trade videos are a series that I like to do every few videos to show you the realities of inside trading, what we're focusing on at the time, and in a real day trading session, sort of reinforcing a simplified version of what we delve into on the private side of our team. We have a big, successful private trading team that are mastering the full detailed intricacies of the exact concepts that I'm going to be sharing with you guys in this video. While it's awesome that we're killing it on the private side of our trading team, I want to continue to bring value to you guys on the YouTube side as well. Live trading is always one of the biggest requests, so that's exactly what I'm going to share with you in this video. In this video, we're going to be executing on a new system that we've been working on behind the scenes for over 6 months, collecting thousands of trade examples, doing hundreds of hours of research. I'm going to be sharing with you guys some elements of this process and me executing this in real time, and we're going to see if we can hit our profit goal of over $3,000. Okay, with this system, our single day profit goal might have to increase because a lot of these trades will run 15, 20, 30 R. So we're going to see what today has in store for us. We're going to see if we can hit our goal, and I'm going to walk you through my thought process as we go through our session. All right, so before I'm diving into taking a trade, I want to make sure that I have my trading desk set up. Now, this is a little bit different with trading a smog compared to the strategy that I've been trading for almost a year, the TCL. So here on my right screen, as usual, this is where I'm executing orders. I have my trading view set up here. I'll share with you what I have on that, as well as I have my exchange. I have my Notion trade tracker where I'm inputting all of my data after I take each trade. Okay, I'm going to be explaining more about that in a second. And we have our Discord where we can communicate with the private team, as well as get other information about the session. And then over on this screen, I just have Bitcoin and then 2 pairs that I like to watch simultaneously, as well as some other data that I'm not sharing with the YouTube side that's only for the private side of the trading team to make sure that I'm keeping things fair for everyone while still providing value to you guys. Okay, so I have some information over here. I notice how the screen is black, so you can't see it on YouTube. I didn't plan that, but that's actually pretty good. It's going to be helpful moving forward. So first, let's talk about our trading view setup. So I have a few things set up. I have a volume indicator, which I've been using for momentum. I have Lux Algo's fair value gap indicator. I'm going to be explaining a little and showing you how I use it for this trading concept. Okay, I also have Lux Algo's smart money concepts. If you watched the last video that I just dropped, I'm basically using it for something called break of structure and change of characters, which is going to be helpful for today's session. And then you'll see I also have something called the IT Foundation indicator. You can find this in the tool suite that I've built for you guys that you can add to your trading view. It has all this stuff on it. If you want access to that, just go in the description of this video, follow me on Instagram, DM me the word tools, and I'll send the Notion link over to you guys, and you can just add it all to your trading view. But this is going to be included on this. I did customize this a little bit, and what we're looking at here is basically, if we go into the gear, you can see I have all of these specifications, but what I have is this gray box showing me from 8 o'clock to 9:30, which shows me the New York Stock Exchange open. Okay, right now I'm trading crypto. We're trading this on futures, on the traditional market as well. And you can see people are really crushing it. I'll pop some images up right here. You can see crazy big wins. Some of our members really doing amazing things, but nonetheless, it's important to be able to see this area so that I can see where we're expected to get a major amount of volatility. You can see right as we get our New York open, this is where we go from a ranging state, this is for Ethereum, into a trending state. So if we can catch those moves, it doesn't always happen, but if we can catch moves like this in the morning and be able to play them to the upside, this is where we can get our ridiculous risk reward trades. And this isn't fabricated. This is what our team members are doing. I think the other day we had a 60 risk reward trade, and we're seeing these all the time. So it's about keeping the losers small and letting these big winners run. That's what we're going to be trying to do today. But this New York open, I have it from 8 to 9:30. You can see when 9:30 starts. I have my buy sell indicator and some other momentum indicators that are going to help me pick these specific areas. So over here, I have my crypto exchange. This is where I'm entering all of my orders and managing my positions. You can check in the description for our partnered exchanges if you want to get started trading on an exchange. Then I have my trade journal set up right here, and this is going to offer me a few things. First, this is going to allow me to log each individual trade that I have so I can track all my data. This is how we come up with systems. You have to be tracking your own data in order to improve your own trading. If you're not measuring, you're not improving. This is a way to do this. This is also in the trading suite for you guys, and you're going to see how this works in a little bit. The reason that I like this so much is this keeps me on check each each morning with my daily trading plan. So I can basically just follow in succession this entire plan each time I sit down and trade. And I know that I'm never messing up, taking the wrong trades, not following my process. So you guys can build these out for yourself as well. But I always start with my pre-session plan. So you'll see, first thing that I have to do today is check the news for important events. So if you're using TradingView, you can create a new tab. You can go over into calendars right here and you can check for high important news. This is going to be things that are going to come up, add volatility to the market, or we can determine whether there's no high impact news on the day, in which case we can do business as usual and there's nothing to really be aware of. You can see today we have a 1:45 speech from the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell. So that's going to be a very high impact piece of news today. So at 1:45, we got to really watch what's going to happen into the market because this is going to be a crazy high impact news. This is going to be a meeting about FOMC. There doesn't seem to be too much expectation for an upset. Okay, but nonetheless, we got to be watching out for that period of the day. The next thing that we're going to do is check for our daily bias. So our head analyst on the private side of our trading team, John, puts these out. You can see this is for Bitcoin. Our previous candle printed bullish with the reversal candle. So we have a bullish sentiment overall on the day. The next thing that I needed to do is add things to my watch list. So you'll see I have an overall list of cryptos that I like to flip through in the morning to find price action that I like that's fitting my setups. And then I'll add these little green flags here, go over here, put them into the specific trade area that I like to watch. I'll set them up over on my scanner. And now I have all of the things ready to go for me to go into my trading session and follow the specific rules of this system. All right, so now that I have my entire desk set up ready to go for my trading session, I'm monitoring two major pairs out of my watch list. So I basically cycled through all the pairs that I like to often trade, and I've narrowed it down to Solana and Ethereum. So all I'm doing is tagging these green right here, and you'll see if I go over to my green list and I've moved these over into my watch list. Today I'm trading a premium strategy called SMOG, so I have that over in my SMOG list. All right, so this is the new trading system that we've been working on in the background, doing hundreds of hours of data testing, crowdsourcing, and collecting thousands of trade examples to set up trade criteria to be able to get in early on trends and play the continuation. So what I'm trying to do is let things trend in a certain direction, find weak areas in the market, enter in an optimal zone, and be able to play big reversals in the market and let these continue on. So I can get in early on these trends and sort of let it play out for several hours, a lot of times getting, 10, 12, 15 risk factors. So we're going to see what happens today. Keep in mind, I've been trading TCL for like almost the entire year now. So I'm used to having an extremely high win rate. You guys know I'm on like a 35 to 40 trade win streak almost with TCL. This is going to be a lot different. My win rate's going to be somewhere closer to say 30 to 40%. However, when I am winning these trades, I'm winning sometimes 7, 10, 15, 20, 30 risk factors off of these positions. So I'm going to share how I'm delving into this. Okay, so right now I really like Ethereum because we've taken a significant run at highs. What I really am waiting for Ethereum to do is achieve something called parabolic exhaustion. This is basically what I look for when we see the market sort of winding up here. I want this to go basically up into a straight line and start to exhaust and start to watch the volume die out at a certain point. I'm also waiting for the momentum to die down. So even though I have some sell signals in here, I'm waiting for the momentum to die and have a sell signal in order to start positioning myself for the day. Now we do have the daily bias as bullish, but in my opinion, I think we could see this price action start to reset at some point in the session, in which case we can take a nice short position down and then take some longs, playing sort of into the thesis of the day still, but being able to capitalize on some parabolic movements on ETH here. So I think that we'll probably break over this high, get our parabolic exhaustion, and then I'm going to try to set up trade one. So now you'll see we're starting to get this parabolic exhaustion to run out a bit. All right, so there's a potential trade setup here happening in just a bit. So the next thing that I'm doing is setting up my position calculation. So I'm using something called a Nevitrade position size calculator. I'm going to be risking $500 per trade here. Okay, I do have ETH pulled up right here. So my entry price is going to be 388.44.46 with 45 ETH. Take profit is still to be determined. So I just tried to input my order here. Looks like I missed my fill. I hope that this comes up and retests this again. Although we're getting a really nice response off of this area of inefficiency. With these trades, you got to be really, really quick. Okay, so I'm trying to do a video and talk through it as I'm trying to get this set up. All right, so I'm in my first trade here. I'm waiting to reduce risk as soon as we have this level broken, if we are to see it. So what's going to happen now is either this is going to come up and break over a new high, in which case we take a calculated loss. But as soon as this has a close underneath this level, I'm going to be bringing my stop loss back to zero, and then we have a risk-free trade. And then we're just going to play the momentum to the downside and see if this does have some sort of reset down. All right, so we're starting to break down this low here. We do have our change of character underneath this level, so it's starting to push in our momentum. We have about 16 seconds left on this candle here, and this is exactly what I thought when this trend would break down. You see these really, really steep trends. As soon as it does crack it, this isn't the only thing that you got to look at, but in conjunction with other things, this is what you want to look at. So we did get a candle print here, which means I'm now bringing my stop loss to break even. I got a really bad fill on this trade, so I'm going to be bringing my stop loss back to this level, but we'll still probably lose about a couple $100 if I am wrong about this. So all I'm going to do now is basically just trail this down. So we, in theory, should have a risk-free trade. Like I said, I got a bad fill for whatever reason on this trade. So we got our nice response here off of this level. We got into our fair value gap. So what a fair value gap is basically you have 3 candles in line. You take the wick of the first candle and the third candle, and if there's no overlap of wicks, there's an area in here where the price pushes significantly through, which is an area where a lot of orders tend to just sit. So these will be areas where you'll get taps into and then reversals. Okay, and that's kind of what we saw here. We saw it get invalidated for a second, but that was the overall thesis behind this trade. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to let this run until we get down to this area of consolidation right here. This is the area that I'm sort of targeting now. As soon as we hit that, then I'm going to start moving my stop loss into profit. But right now we're still have full risk on the trade. So it's good that we're seeing the market move in that direction, but we do need like kind of a full capitulation, I guess, if you will, of the market now. But the whole goal of this is to basically set yourself up in high probability areas. And then if something happens where ETH starts to tank and starts to trade down under its New York session open, you're sitting on a position where you could have 13 units of risk in your pocket. So if you're risking $100, you make $1,300. And if you're right, like even 10% of the time, you're still profitable. So that's what we're going at. And that's why we spent so much time with the data here. So it's good to see that this trade is working out. But now we basically just got to wait for this level to be hit or our stop loss to be hit. And then we will evaluate everything. But this is going to be stop loss at near break even. So it's either one of these two options now. And now we just sit and wait. I'm going to let this trade just run by itself. I don't need to sit here and stare at it. I'm going to get another cup of coffee, get some food, and then I have my signals, all my things automatically set up. So I'm going to let this play out. We'll see if we get stopped out or if we start locking in some profit. All right, so we're starting to get a move nicely in our direction. We're up about 1,500 on this trade. Should be more. It should be 4.5 risk factors. So it should be, like $2,500. That's why entries are so important. Unfortunately, on this trade, I didn't get the best entry. We're starting to approach this key area here, but I do want to reduce my risk down to trail this past area of inefficiency right here. So I'm going to be moving my stop loss into the money here, which should lock in close to 1 risk factor. So on this trade now, we have 1 hour approximately on the day. We're going to continue to trail this to the downside, but for now I'm going to reduce risk into the money, and this is now a risk-free trade. So we either make a little or we make a lot. All right, back to reading. All right, so you can see we're having a temporary support here off of this fair value gap. There was a pretty significant level that we broke up above and then continue to get support off of. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is at least a temporary local low. But if it is to break down this level, it's going to move probably pretty quickly down to our next area. So let's see if we can get some momentum down through it. Okay, I don't have full conviction that ETH will dump off and sell off for the entirety of the day. So I probably am going to start to take some profits in at this level. I think I'm going to actually take this blow off as an exit, and I just closed out my position at the low of this fair value gap. Notice how we're getting sort of a candle push down and it's starting to turn volatile. Okay, this definitely could dump down lower through this area, but we just sucked up all these orders. So basically I'm expecting for the day, crypto is still looking really bullish. We're expecting for a net daily gain. We're starting to get into our discount zone here of about like 50% of this entire move. So even though I could probably get a little bit more out of it on a bullish day like this, if we get this move, great. All right, but nonetheless, we still did get positive 5 risk factors on this trade. So I'm going to let this play out a little bit more before I take my screenshot and start to input this trade into my trade journal. This looks like it could get some momentum to the downside, but we do have a pretty big uninterrupted downtrend here on a bullish day. So I didn't want to sit in this trade and let it come back all the way up and give away all those risk factors. So we had a little bit over 5 risk factors on a nice entry. By using general analysis and our momentum indicators, I was able to not short into all of these areas and and take this signal seriously and be able to soak down a nice 1 to 5 risk reward. And we made $2,188. And you can see all this happened in about 29 minutes. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to screenshot this trade that I took. And I'm going to go down to my master trade log. And I'm going to open this up. And I'm just going to drop this screenshot to this trade. And then I'm going to fill out all of this criteria. So this trade was on Ethereum. This was a smog setup. We were taking a short on ETH. So it was a 1 minute time frame. So we were risking half of 1% of my account. I would say confidence on this trade was a 4 out of 5. I had most of my confluences hit. I had a pretty high conviction that this trade would work out. Luckily, this was a winner. Of course, this is running. It's going to run like crazy. Watch, it will break the session low today. I made $2,188, even though we should have really made closer to $3,000 on this trade, but I got a really bad fill. This trade took about 29 minutes. Today is Wednesday. So I'm just taking notes of my reason for exiting the trade early. I mean, because technically we got out at this level, but we would have had 7 risk factors and it looks like it's going to continue going. This is how the system goes. I mean, depending on how much you want to let it run, you can. If say we got a better fill than this, sometimes we will get moves all the way down, something like this. And even if we got like a slightly better fill, that's 20 risk factors. So in this case, if I were to get 20 risk factors risking $500, that's $10,000 risking $500. So that's really interesting for us to think about where we can take this over the next year. But anyways, I took my profit on this trade. So now we have this trade logged. So we have everything accounted for over on our data sheet. And the good thing about this is if I want to view this over as a gallery view, now I can see all of my trades that I've taken and I can go into each trade and very clearly see what I did, what I liked, what I didn't like, and go over all my winners, all my losers, right? The good thing about this Notion is I can filter wins or losses. I can filter for losses. So if I just want to look at all of my losing trades and see, do I notice anything amongst these losers? This is how I start to optimize my systems. Probably go a little bit more over into that because that's sort of something that I do on my post session. All right, so now I'm going to check out and start to line up a secondary trade on the day. I do want this move to sort of develop and play out. We can see Sol here took a similar move in the day. Actually, we wouldn't have even been able to enter a Sol trade, so it's good that we chose ETH. All right, but Sol starting to trend down on the day. So I'm going to zoom out actually and just do some more macro analysis. I'm actually going to go back to ETH and do the macro analysis because I want to find some sort of support zone for this session that I would be comfortable to start taking some longs into. So I'm just going to go out to like a 15-minute chart here. I'm going to start marking out some key levels. Okay, so any way you cut it, we have support along these levels here, which is going to give us a key reaction. So if we do want to come all the way down and test these levels, I will 100% be entering along if we do have a good setup. So I'm sort of looking at this as a really, really nice zone for the session. And then we have these lows sort of here as well. If we start to trade sideways throughout the session, this is going to bring us to about, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So depending on where we start to get fills, this could be a really, really good area as well to be able to get into some longs if we do trade down that low. And something that I'm noticing too is if I treat this corrective wave down here, even though we do have a buy signal, I'm not going to be taking this buy signal because we don't have momentum switching to the upside yet. If I'm considering this a 5-wave structure, we could get a move back up to here. But what I am noticing is that if I take what's called a trend-based fib extension, I use this all the time when I'm projecting where trends will sort of start to exhaust. I can notice this could be my 1 wave, in which case, if you look, I have 261.8. So the golden ratio projection lining up beautifully with this previous overall zone that we've drawn for support level. So it's looking like this zone could be really, really powerful for us as a potential area to long. People say like support and resistance doesn't matter. If I'm going from this low to this low and drawing a trend line along those, you can see as I really make this perfect along these levels, this is exactly where we just caught temporary support on this overall trend. So this could be a temporary support zone, but I think this gets invalidated. And then underneath that, we really have as sort of a next level, these contact points to go off of. All right, which is going to bring us back down into this zone. So I do expect for this to probably break down. If not, I'm not taking a long to the upside. And if we end up getting down into this zone, I'm going to consider looking at where we are, looking at our momentum, and potentially taking a long into the news that we have coming at 145. This should come a little bit before that. So I just have alerts set up on that. I have some alerts set on Solana too if this wants to drop down. And for Sol, I'm looking at this as an overall structure. We could get a move down to 361.8 into this area. Once again, this is going to be the area I'm going to look for prices sort of start to round the corner here. If we do see price of Solana start to move down around a corner here and react off of all this overall analysis, this could be something that I look for as well to start taking a long position into the market. But I'm going to let the market sort of develop a little bit further, and then we're going to see if we can find setup number 2. Okay, so our overall level that we anticipated in this zone, you can see on our large time frame, that was the perfect area where we got that level perfectly respected into our 261.8 area and then had a flip. However, we didn't end up getting the price to pull back down into our entry before breaking out to the upside. So I am canceling this order on ETH here, unfortunately. And if we look at a similar situation to Sol, you can see our 361.8 was consolidated against. We had a nice fair value gap established. We'd already be up 1 to 2 on this position with a risk-free trade had we have taken the Sol trade. So unfortunately, we missed this move to the upside for the time being, which is just going to happen in general in your trading. But just to sort of show you, once you understand how the market mechanics work, it's pretty easy to find these key areas where you're going to get the market to flip and then be able to enter positions. It's just about entering the right position. All right, so now I'm hoping that Solana is going to print maybe potentially another low into this support area over here, in which case we could potentially look to take a long off of this. But I do want to have some sort of general sentiment direction for this trade. I don't want to chase this reversal. Okay, so I'm going to let the market shake out. I'm going to check back in a few minutes. We'll see what comes to fruition in the market. All right, so I have my second trade set up here on Sol. We ended up printing a new low and then getting a sharp reaction off of that. And now we just broke this trend to the upside too after we retested this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, retesting this fifth wave area here. So I'm going to try to get into a trade inside this fair value gap, inside this sort of block of price action to see if I can sort of tap into this before this takes a move to the upside and begins trending. Okay, we have had a significant sell-off period over this point, so it wouldn't be surprising to see an overall move to the upside and sort of refill into this discount zone, in which case we would be able to get like another, for example, 1 to 5 risk reward trade. So I am targeting this wick level here. So we had our second trade set up here on Solana. Unfortunately, the price didn't roll over into our fair value gap before we got a continuation in price action. So after this took a pretty significant move, I've gone ahead and canceled my order here because at this point, if this price comes down and retests the overside of this trend, this is going to take another nasty dump off. Now I'm just hoping if I were to take a long here that this catches some sort of support off of this zone, but I don't have a good technical reason to think that there's going to be a long. We also just got a sell signal here as well. Okay, so I'm going to let the market reset, try to take another trade before the FOMC meeting if we have a good setup, and then I'm going to hit the gym a little bit later. But for now, I just got to wait and see what happens. All right, so we got ETH now starting to make a move down after that big run up that we would have had like a 11 to 12 risk reward if we had tapped into this zone. That's a different story, unfortunate, but that is trading. Okay, so we do have this sort of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave structure forming here on Ethereum. What I'm doing is just keeping this box floating around. And I also have my Innovatrade position size calculator on screen. Once again, this is available to you guys in the tool suite on Instagram. Just follow me, DM me the word tools, and you'll be able to have access to this. And basically you just star this on your trading view and then click on it, and then you'll basically be able to input all of your important levels, and then it's going to give you this table here where it's going to show you all of the details that you can enter in with. What I'm doing is just keeping this in a rough general area in case we do have a nice entry eventually appearing. That way I can just make subtle tweaks and then go over and immediately be able to put my order in, because this does happen fairly quickly. So we don't have any position set up yet, but I'm just sort of waiting to see if this can take any sort of break and leave behind a fair value gap, in which case we should be able to play this to the downside. We do have that news coming in 15 minutes. So this is a high impact news event. So I'm assuming there's going to be some volatility into this. I want to be on the right side of it, but nonetheless, with a system like this, this could mean a big move, especially if things aren't so hot for crypto. This could mean that the markets dump. Otherwise, it could pump and we could be wrong about our thesis. We're going to let the markets to develop, see if a trade entry lines up with that time. Otherwise, I'm going to see how that meeting probably shakes out, and then we'll try to find another trade position. But now we just have to wait and see if this develops into a trade. All right, so we have this trade set up on ETH here, but we're not going to really get any fair value gaps in here. So I do actually have an interest in going over and checking out the price action on Solana. What we do have over here on Sol is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave structure as well. And we potentially are at a point where we could see this trend break. Now we haven't seen a trend break yet. Technically, this is a trade opportunity, but something in my gut is telling me that I'm not going to want to take this trade idea. And mostly the reason for that is because even though this could be our 1 to 2 wave, 3, 4, 5. There's part of me that just looks at this as our 1 to 2, 3, 4, and we're going to get a continuation up to 5, especially considering we have high impact news coming up in a second. So even though this could be a good short position, technically speaking, I'm going to pass on this trade. Just not feeling like it's a quality setup. Now we have a legitimate trade setup available. We do have high impact news coming up. So if this candle is to close, this is going to set up a potential short position for me here. It's going to be tight. It could get me stopped out pretty quickly, but if I'm right about it, it should be able to move in my direction fairly quickly as well. We do have an inefficiency in this point, and now we have this trend break with resistance on this point. So I'm interested in now getting a position here on Sol. Okay, so I just opened up a fishing order in case we come up and retest this level here. Stop loss over this high zone. So if we want to punch through and try to retest it after this change of character and get something like that, that would be fantastic. We have news in 10 minutes. So ideally we get filled, something bad happens, market spills off for the rest of the day. And Sol wants to print a new low for the day, in which case we would get a 1 to 8 risk reward. So that's what we're hoping for. Now we just got to see if we can get our trade filled. All right, so we're in on this Sol position. Only thing that's concerning me with this Sol position, to be honest, is the fact that it took so long to come up, whereas now if it tests the opposite side of this trend, which it probably most likely will, it's going to come and tag our stop loss and then maybe move in our direction. So that's a little bit unfortunate. I'm hoping it doesn't make a full retest, but that is a possibility for this trade. It's still a good setup, but there's a high chance that it does that, which is annoying, but we do have news in 5 minutes, so we'll see what happens with this trade. So price did come up and ended up tagging that overside retest. I probably should have just taken the trade off after noticing that, but nonetheless, I wanted to see if we could snag this sort of reversal. Okay, so risk was 500, but I ended up losing 678 on that trade. I am going to take a screenshot of this. That's that trade. Drop this into our Notion, fill out our trade criteria information. Confidence on that trade was a 2. By the time we got into that trade, I probably should have taken it off, but this is like, once again, the realities of trading. I think a lot of people want to seem, perfect in their decision making. I kind of hesitated, said I don't think it's a good idea, and then saw that it would probably stop me out, took the trade anyways, and then now we're getting the exact reaction that I want. It's like I knew it was going to happen. So these are also things that I'm going to add into my journal so that I can look at this and learn this with the new system. These are things that you want to pay attention to. So we got in here, out here, 2-minute duration. All right, pre-notes, retest was outside of stop. All right, so I'm going to see what happens with this FOMC meeting with the market and see if there's any other opportunities. I don't want to get caught in the spin cycle of forcing opportunities just for the sake of taking another trade. At this point, we already have the market sort of ranging in between this zone. So we're going to see what happens. If I can find another trade before I head to the gym, amazing. Otherwise, I'm just going to head to the gym, hit a workout, and then we're going to try to find a few more trades into the later day session. All right, so I found trade number 3 for the day. I entered an Ethereum short position here. You can see we have a change of character retest into this fair value gap after a sell side indication. Momentum has slowed down. What I'm waiting for now is for this low area to have a close below so I can set this trade to a 0 risk. I keep getting bad fills today, so I should be up once again a little bit more than I am right now, but we have 30 seconds left on this candle, hoping to get a confirmed close underneath this, bring the risk down on the trade overall. Right now we're pacing up around $1,000 on this trade, starting to move nicely in our direction. We had some momentum after the news event today, so it seems like things are settling down, trading back into its range, so we just need a little bit of a dump on ETH. So we technically closed basically right at that line, which is annoying because it didn't close below, but we immediately got a push down underneath it. So I am now going to move my stop loss to break even. All right, so this position we do have minimized risk on. And now we're just waiting for this to sort of trade down into the rest of the session. What I'm trying to do is find an overall target on the price action. What I am seeing is this was a significant break point over this high zone before we got a push consolidation and then a push higher. So I do see that this was a critical level here as well. So I'm liking this zone as a secured first take profit zone. So we should expect to see some level of support along this level. All right, this is also going to get me to a 1 to 6 risk reward if I am to get a push down to this point, in which case I'm going to start moving my stop loss into profit, and we're going to see if we can trail this down and sort of just let this run. But for now, we just got to sit back, wait to see what happens, and see if we continue to get a move down. All right, so we got a really nice move down on this ETH move. We were up about $2,000. We did hit off of our original target here, and then you can see this really quickly reversed back into the end of the session. It's about 4 p.m. right now, so we just tagged our entry zone. So we were able to get out of this trade for break even. Unfortunate, because had this have just had this reaction but to the downside, it would have been probably the last trade of the day. Nice $3,000, $4,000 profit. So nice break even trade on this. All right, so I'm going to log this trade and then try to find one more trade setup before I head off to the gym. All right, so I came back from the gym and took a few meetings, had dinner. I was able to find one more trade on Ethereum. By the way, Bitcoin did end up running up to $100,000. We're actually at 102.8. I heard a notification go off on my trading view and I was wondering what it was. I had no idea when I was in a meeting that we hit 100,000 on Bitcoin. So that's quite a benchmark. It's just sort of cool to document on YouTube. But we do have ETH moving down in our direction quite nicely. Basically, during this parabolic move, I noticed that usually when Bitcoin moves up, ETH's dominance tends to drop down. So this is why I was anticipating that we could get a little bit of a sell-off stronger than Bitcoin once we get a little bit of a blow-off momentum push. So I was sort of able to identify this trend on Ethereum. Once I got a sell signal and we saw the price drop significantly down, there was this inefficiency zone right in this region, which was exactly where I placed my entry. And I've just been trailing this down for the time being. So I'm targeting this support level down here. We're sort of starting to consolidate a little bit. So I might have to sit in this trade a little bit longer. I'm hoping this just comes down. I have my stop reduced to break even. Okay, right now I'm adjusting my stop loss to over this swing high. So if we do push up, we'll be able to lock in about just under 2 risk factors. But if we're able to reach our initial target, it will be somewhere down here and we should be able to lock in closer to 5. This definitely is going to be the last trade of the day. I kind of was hesitant to take one this late, but honestly, for the sake of the video, I continued to trade a little bit later. I'm not normally trading at 10:45 at night, but I was going to lock in and do a full trading day of smog. So here we are trading at 10:30 at night. So hopefully this pays off and this ends up coming down to our level, but nonetheless, really good entry on ETH. We're going to see how this unfolds, do a recap, log everything into our journal, and see what we have as a result for the end of the day. All right, and I just closed out the last part of that trade for $2,035. Now this might sell back off down into this range here, but it's almost 11 o'clock at night and we just locked in 4.1 risk factors. So I think covering up this position into this strength here. So I don't really care if this continues to drop down. I wanted to cover out of my position and lock in that $2,000. This was a very smooth trade to end out the trading day. If this was during the regular trading session, I probably would have just let this trail. I'd move my stop loss to this point and then just let this trail down and get me out on a stop loss. So as a total for the day, I was able to take 4 total trades. First trade here was on Ethereum. Even though we had a bullish daily bias, I was noticing out of the New York session open, we had this big strong uptrend here with these lows. Once these lows were broken, I noticed an area of inefficiency in here, as well as testing the overside of the trend, as well as a sell indicator here, and took a short position, was able to close that trade out for $2,188. I didn't get a good fill on this trade, so this should have been 5.22 risk factors, so it should have been more like $2,600. Okay, but we ended up a little bit short of that total goal. Then after I took this short position move, I started to do wave analysis on this trend, as well as technical analysis to read what happened previously in the chart to establish that this would probably be our low area. The price did in fact come down to that low area. I was looking to play a break out of this trend to the upside, but you'll see price kind of pushed up. We set up a position, didn't quite dip down into our area, and had this have dipped down into our area just a little bit deeper, we wouldn't have taken profit probably until somewhere up in this range. So we're probably looking at like another 10 risk factors, so a $5,000 trade had we have caught that. When I missed ETH, I tried to take the same thing on Sol here, missed it by a little bit. Once again, same story, missed out on probably a 5 to 6 risk reward trade. Once we got our sell signal and we saw momentum start to change around, took a short position into this inefficiency in real time. This was definitely probably, I could have been a little bit tighter with my sort of discretion on this. We did have what I call an underside retest outside of my stop loss area, which I don't typically like to do just on a technical analysis front, just because there's a high probability that it will get stopped out. In this case, it wouldn't have mattered too much either way. Probably not the best setup as well. So you can see this was negative 678. In general, when you're calculating your risk, you're always going to lose a little bit more to slippage. It did move a little bit aggressively through my stop, and so I lost 678 178, sort of accounting for 500. So a little bit bigger of a loss there. Confidence was 2 for that exact reason. I was even saying to myself, like, I don't know, I'm not going to take this for discretionary reasons. And then we saw all the signals lining up and I still took it. So confidence was definitely a 2, but that's okay. All right, then we were able to snag this really nice sell side position on Ethereum here. So once again, sell signal over here, momentum started to shift, made a beautiful move to the downside. We were up about almost 5 risk factors on this trade. Set my stop loss to break even, and then this bounced off my exact target before I was able to take profit, and this came up and stopped me out for break even trade. We ended up making $11 on the trade. So that was, you know, $2,000 that turned into $11, which is unfortunate, but that type of stuff does happen in trading. And then our last trade, once again, Bitcoin pushed highs, Ethereum dominance tends to die down. So I figured as the hype of Bitcoin hitting 100K sort of sold off a little bit, there was this inefficiency in which I could capitalize on a short position based on all of, you know, momentum, inefficiency here, as well as a change of character underneath this level. So tapped in here, beautiful entry, sold off, dropped my risk down to 0 as soon as we had this change of character under here, and then was able to take profit right in this area here. I was looking for this as the key level of support, sort of discount zone down here. Took the trade off a little bit early, but now we have a buy signal here. So we were able to lock in a little bit over 4 risk factors on that trade for $2,035, which leaves us at a daily total of just over $3,500, taking 4 trades. All right, so we did have a 75% win rate. I did win a lot of the trades today. I also took trades off early just because I had my long bias on the day. Moving forward, the goal is to try to let these trades run. I don't have a ton of experience putting this into practice, so me just taking notes on my tracker and just showing you guys how it's going, how I'm evaluating the markets, and how I'm approaching it. That's sort of the overall goal with this at the current moments. Okay, I'm going to be doing much more training on this style of trading. Like I said, we've been putting in crazy amounts of man hours, getting the private side of our trading team up to speed, trading these things, testing these concepts, and this is how we're able to get results like what I just showcased to you guys today. This was just my trading session today, but I've actually done 2 other trading sessions. I've lost a total of 4 smog trades and I've won 7 of them, and I'm totaling almost over $10,000 in profit just over a few trading sessions, not even scaling up the account yet. So there's going to be losing days, there's going to be struggles, there's going to be adversities, but I just wanted to share this with you guys and share how we're cleaning up and share how we're able to make money in the crypto market regardless of the direction the market is moving. If you want access to the tools that I'm using in this video, this right here is a proprietary indicator, but all the other things on my indicator, you guys can once again follow me on Instagram, DM me the word tools. I'll have the tool sheet sent right over to you guys. If you found this valuable, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, share this with your trading friends. If you want to watch more videos like these in regards to other strategies, you can check out these videos right here. And until next time, I will see you all in the next video.